I mean, when you were gone, I would listen to the radio and I would text you, go, Mike, what the hell are you doing? Are you ever gonna come back? I'm bored out of my mind. You become part of the fabric of the city. I listened to you as a player, and of course, I listen to you now every day. The question is, at what point did you know that you had that gift, that you can have that hook?
You know, I always tell people this, and I tell the kids when I talk to colleges and different things, you can train for this. You can learn certain things. I mean, I worked under Brent Musburger. I worked on the NFL Today when it was the biggest show, when it was Brent, Irv, Phyllis, Jimmy the Greek, the biggest show, and it was nothing close. I grew up on that show. I broke in other big-time announcers. Jim Nance, you know, he came in under my guidance at CBS. We worked together. Another guy who's been around forever. So I've worked with a lot of the big broadcasters, but until you do it yourself, and then this is what the same thing is the same thing I said to you about TV when you started, A-Rod. I said, you'll know right away whether you can do it or can't do it. When that light goes on, you have to have a natural instinct to communicate and do it in a entertaining and quick and personable way. And if you do, you're going to be successful. And if you don't, it's not going to work. And it doesn't mean that everyone has to love you, because you don't want everyone to love you. You want to make people emote. You want everyone to react. You don't care if they like you or not, as long as they react. You don't want them to just sit there and not notice you. You want to be noticed, and you want them to react. You want to make people emote. But I think you either know, and I'll tell you, this is the true story. I broke into, I went to FAN. I was driving home, and I had a big job at CBS. I was the editorial consultant for the whole network. I had a big job. I was involved in scheduling. I worked on a lot of the shows. I worked on NFL Today, worked on the NBA playoffs, worked on college football. They had just gotten the NCAA tournament. I had a really good job. I was getting paid a lot of money. All of a sudden, I'm driving home. It was the great Houston Met playoff series. And it was on WHN 1050, which was then a country rock station, a country music station. And during that great pivotal classic Game 6, I had to go somewhere during the game, and I jumped in my car and I'm listening to the game. We're all spellbound by one of the great games of all time. And they went to commercial and they said sports radio, WHN 1050. And I was like, what's sports radio? So I inquired, what's sports radio? And they said to me, July 1st, we are going to become the first sports talk station 24 hours a day ever in the history of broadcasting. I said, oh. So I'm flying somewhere with Brent Musburger. We're going to do a game. And I told him about this. He goes, I think you'd be really good at this. You should try it. So I went to them and they said, I brought in my resume. They said, you're overqualified to be a producer. You already work at CBS Network TV. What are you kidding? You don't belong here. I said, no, I want to be on the air. Give me a show. They said, we're bringing in the biggest guys in the country. Jim Lampley, Pete Franklin, all these guys, and they flew them all in from all over the country. You have no chance of ever doing a show here. I said, just give me one chance. I promise you I can do it. No way. I asked them 20 times to give me a show. They turned me down every time. Yeah. Turned me down for 3 straight months. I must have called them 20 times. Finally, I'm back doing college football with Jim Nance, and Jim Nance says to me, are you doing something with that sports? I said, they won't let me do anything. I can't get in the door. He goes, I know one of the producers. I worked with them on a syndicated show, a guy named Luke Griffin. He called Luke Griffin and said, Luke, you got to give this guy a chance. Next week, they gave me a weekend show to do with a guy named Dan Lovett. They liked the show. They said to me, will you sit in for Pete Franklin on Thanksgiving? Now, the first show I ever do by myself in my life is Thanksgiving in drive time in New York. We don't have any football games.
What year?
1987.
Wow.
We don't have any football games. We have nothing. I go on. Now it's afternoon 3 to 7 on Thanksgiving. You're up against the games. You're up against Thanksgiving dinners. Nobody calls. I'm thinking, what a mistake I made. I went home and said, I'm devastated. I was so bad. I was wrong. I'll go back to CBS. I said, but what? They said, you're coming back tomorrow to do it again. I that night said, if I'm this bad tomorrow, I will never try this again in my life.
Wow.
I will go back and just do my behind-the-scenes job at CBS. That's how devastated I was. I didn't sleep that whole night. The next day I went back, all of a sudden it was a regular day. Calls, guests, action. Show was great. The rest is history. Wow. I was one show away
That's
from
fantastic.
never working.
That failure that we've talked to with other people, like
and
that
that's
first
30 years
failure.
later, and you know, will end up, you know, hopefully, well, not hopefully, I get into the Hall of Fame this November, so that's the
Congrats.
There you go.